Yes, people. How are we all doing? Welcome back to another show. We're still talking about the Arsenal thing. We're still talking about the 3 domestic defeats in a row. Obviously, I had a bit of a therapy session yesterday with Big Steve. I'm really glad most of you seem to enjoy the Big Steve show. It did great numbers. Your support in that show was fantastic. But tonight we have another fantastic show for you. Great panel here with me. They're going to give their thoughts on the Arsenal game on the weekend. We got Jordy Porty. Didn't get to do a review over the weekend, so he wanted to share his thoughts on the Arsenal game. Johnny, returning from Typical City, was here last week. You guys enjoyed Johnny. I'm glad you guys showed him support too. Martin, as always, and then making his debut is my good friend from the City Report podcast, Mr. Amos Murphy. How are you?
All good, man. All good. It's a delight to be here. Look at all you lovely lot. It's going to hopefully brighten up the day after a weekend of another Man City defeat. We're not saying that too often, are we?
I know. I think I read, is it the first time we lost 2 games in the league in a row in 6 years or something?
Yeah, it's 2018.
It really, when you have times like this and results and weeks like we've just had, it really puts it into perspective just how dominant and excellent we've been over the last Pep's whole tenure. Really, it just shows like the numbers we were doing, the records we were breaking, and then you go through a little bit of a period like this, it puts it all into perspective, and you're able to really appreciate, what we enjoy. But listen, there's just 100 people in the building right now. That's great to see. Plenty of you already here early doors. Do us a massive favor, drop a like on this stream if you're enjoying it, and subscribe if you're new around here. I think we're about 300 off 83k, so if you're new, do subscribe and show us some support. And we'll jump right into it, I suppose. We'll talk about the Arsenal game, debrief. I want to know your thoughts on everything, guys, so let's have a good chat. Jordan, I suppose we'll start with you, man. Where did it go wrong? 1-0, not very creative. A lot of people expressing opinions. Chat, get involved too, but let's have a good conversation.
Yeah, man, people seem to be fuming Haaland quite a lot. That's all over Twitter at the moment, which is a bit shit. You don't want to see it happening. And also, I think it's difficult for Haaland when he doesn't get service, when he doesn't have the creative players behind him. I think the game as a whole was just a very terrible game from both sides. Like, it was a horrible watch. I mean, it makes it worse because I was sat next to an Arsenal fan when I did it, so I was kind of on a downhill straight away. And then as we got to them latter bits, I was like, if one team scores here, then obviously the other one's in the bin. Like, and as soon as they scored, it seemed to be lights out because we weren't creating anything before that. Do we have one shot on target in the whole game, something like that? It was something stupid like that. Anyway, it was just a dead game. It's something that. It's one of the games that I just want to write off as hopefully this isn't something to worry about and something to continue. And I still back the team. Obviously, we have had some good games. Obviously, we've been shit recently with our back-to-back defeats now. But it makes it difficult when you don't have the creative players behind Haaland and you rely on him as the service man. He's the guy to get the goals, and he's not the guy getting any chances.
I've seen. I went on the Big Six show last night, and I said. People didn't agree with me now for 1 second, but I said, I don't think Arsenal outclassed us. I don't think they outplayed us. I don't think it was like a tactical masterclass from Mikel Arteta. I think both teams were probably subpar by their own high standards. And then I had messages coming into my Instagram from people telling me, no, if you really know football and you analyze it properly, you'll realize that Mikel Arteta pulled off a masterstroke and all this kind of thing. And I was kind of going, really? Are you trying to really glorify a deflected goal, 1-0 win? I get it. I think in the grand scheme of things, you guys would probably agree with me. I mean, you said it in the stand, Amos, that if you put a gun to my head and say who slightly deserved to win it more, it's probably Arsenal. But Johnny, to suggest that we were just outdone, I think is a bit over the top.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was an overemphasis on Rodri's absence. I think Pep was overthinking Rodri's absence to the point of putting Bernardo Silva in between the two centre-backs for the first half, which was really surprising. I know he's so versatile, isn't he, Bernardo? But to play him there, when we talk about lack of creativity, I think that's what killed us. It was almost too much thinking about no Rodri, putting Bernardo there. But then Bernardo's better at the other end of the pitch and not creating any chances. So I felt like there was an obvious gap between midfield and Haaland immediately. The fact that as soon as I saw Bernardo in between the two centre-backs, Kovacic didn't have his greatest game. I don't think Alvarez had his greatest game. But I certainly don't think we were outclassed by Arsenal, like you said. I completely agree with you, mate. I totally agree with you. But I do think we were below par. I think they are a little bit giddy right now about the result. I think the result is... I think the emotions riding highest, particularly after the game. I think now if they were to go and watch the game back, I think they'd see how even it actually was. And it was decided by a moment of luck, just a moment of luck. But I wouldn't worry too much as City fans, you know. I really wouldn't, because I think we talk about no creativity. We had 29 shots against West Ham. We had 30-plus shots against Sheffield United. We had 39 shots against Red Star. So we were smacking them at their goals, you know, prior to this. And before the no creativity, we were showing we had creativity. We just weren't putting it back in the net. And then to contradict that, we had 7 shots against Fulham. We win 5-1. So there's your clinical side of it. So we've got what we need at the club right now. I know people are instantly looking to the transfer market and going, right, we need to go and sign somebody. We need Paquetá if the deal's still on with all the betting allegations, or we need Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig, whatever it may be. But really, I think we've got what we need. It's just a matter of gelling it all together. We've seen the highs of our creativity and then the highs of our clinical Erling Haaland. They've not really linked together yet. And when they do, we'll hit the ground running and we'll start destroying the league once again, hopefully in the second half of the season like we usually do.
There was a great super chat came in on the Big Steve show yesterday. It was real. It was true. It was that we seem to be having this conversation at least once a year and generally at the same time every year, which is that, you know, things aren't looking right, or things aren't running as smoothly as they should. And is Pep doing something wrong? Is he tinkering? And yada, yada, yada. But we always seem to remain calm because we're pretty confident that Pep Guardiola will get things right. But Martin, you saw our good friend Saeed there, United fan, saying emergency meeting. Would you consider the time for emergency meeting, or do you think Saeed is off his head?
Saeed's been naughty. I was on the radio I was on the local radio last night, and the United fans telling me 6 points behind you. But it's 8 games. Calm down. We'll have a chat in May about how many points you are. You just said it. We're having this same conversation. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. Sat there in January last year when everyone was having a meltdown. Let's go out and spend 200 million in. And I went, no, just wait. He'll get it all sorted. Get everyone back. And I said this will be a special season. You know me, Hugh. When have you seen me blow gaskets or it? You came up to me outside the Etihad and went, how are you so calm? I think it was outside the Real Madrid game. You went, why are you calm?
Yeah, no. You were like, we're going to do them 4-0. I think you couldn't score right. I think you said we're going to do them 4-0. And I was like, you're fucking crazy, man.
That was bonkers. No, the simple fact is, Pep went down on Sunday and did something he's never done. He went for a point. But what he did was he thought, you know what? I've got this Rodri situation, so I'll make it so narrow, so compact. He throws Alvarez out on the right. Foden goes to the left. Bernardo goes to 6. And you could tell, and I think they've all said it afterwards, they were confused. Pep sort of overthought himself. And we say it every year, Pep is a world-class manager, the best in the world, but he's a mad scientist. Simple. And he had his little wobble. He had his wobble at weekend where he just come out with this madness where he goes, you know what? I'm not playing Doku. I'm not playing Grealish. I'm just going to go and throw this completely out here. And I'm just, watch what I'm going to do. And this thing about Arsenal are better than us. No, yes, they had more shots, but when you look at the shots on target, Arsenal had 2. I honestly, I said to myself, if I was a neutral, I'd have just turned that off after 60 minutes. It was.
I'd have been asleep.
It was boring, wasn't
it? The simple fact is, we got beat. City were not actually bad. City could have been 1 or 2 up in 10 minutes. Different game out straight out. People going about Haaland having this, that, and the other. I'm sure he's still top goal scorer by 2 goals. That's the mad thing. What it is Haaland is his own worst enemy, and we've all fallen for it. Because he scored 60-odd goals last year, we're going to expect now, year in, year out, and it was never going to happen. But I think he's actually getting better as a footballer. Look at the goal he created for us against Leipzig the other night. But when he was the one, I think it was the Doku goal.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one winning the ball back in his own area to release Alvarez on for Doku. Mm-hmm. But Haaland wouldn't have done that 12 months ago. So he's adding to his game. There's no panic whatsoever. The panic is because people aren't used to losing. It's a human nature. They aren't used to something that they don't normally see. But trust me, we'll lose again this season, but we'll win this league. So we will win this league by about 8 points. I'm not confident. I'm not worried one little bit.
Love that. I back that.
I'm with you,
Now
Martin.
get clipped and showing who fast will beat us. I'm more worried about Liverpool than I am Arsenal.
Oh, we live in a world now where Man
agree.
United fans celebrate being 6 points behind us. So we're not doing too bad.
Levels.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, I suppose. Amos, 8 points. We could win the league by marking things, but I suppose me and you were stood together at the game in the away end, and I think both of us had kind of conceded by the 70th minute we probably weren't going to score. We were both pretty dull about the actual game. We were sitting here. It was a lovely day, nice weather and that kind of thing. We had a few beers, but the overall game, mate, it wasn't the best.
You say we had a few beers, not at that price. We didn't. It was one in
£7 for a beer?
£7 British pounds for a pint in North London. Horrific. Well, yeah. Look, Manchester City found a way to lose a 0-0 draw, and I guess that's what we're dealing with here. One for the stats head, Martinelli's post shot XG was below 0.1. It was 0.03. For anyone who doesn't know how to sort of interpret that, it's a very low chance that's going in. City lost the game because the one of 2 Arsenal shots on target was deflected into the goal beyond Ederson. I mean, like, if you're not calm after that, I don't know what you can sort of be. Like, it was one of those days. It was genuinely one of those days. It was a big game. It happens. City are going to lose matches, as Martin says, and City at the end of it will probably end up winning the league. I mean, we've been here before, guys. We know what this is. We've seen it before. I will say though, yeah, exactly. We won the league.
It's like we not learned.
We've won league titles on the final day, being behind in the last 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think a 1-0 defeat in October against Arsenal is going to really make that much of a difference. But I do think there is something to be said about the team selection though, because going back to it, Hugh, when it dropped, you and I were like, okay, this is a bit weird. Because I think the general consensus before the game was either Doku or Grealish. It was Doku scored in midweek. Grealish had just come back from an injury. That was the conversation. That was the talking point. And then none of them played. So then you're looking at it going, right, okay, what's he trying to do? And I'm not here to criticize Guardiola at all, but I do think there was a case of without Rodri trying to overcompensate for issues in the pitch when he could have just genuinely put a midfielder in there. Yes, it wouldn't have been near the level of Rodri, but we'd have still had the same attack going forward and we might have created a little bit more. But yeah, 3 defeats without Rodri. I mean, we kind of expected it. So I'm not sort of here pulling my hair out. It's not crisis mode. It's fine. It genuinely is fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine too. There's no need to panic. I said in the build-up to this game that this win would have meant a lot more to Arsenal than it would have to us. And for those of you who were at the game, you would have seen that by the celebrations outside the Emirates after. You swear they would have won the Champions League. And on a human level, I get that. They haven't beaten us in the Premier League since December 2015. So it's like us going to Anfield. Like, we will celebrate like that if we win at Anfield this year, because we don't can win at Anfield. It's one of those ones. So I get it. But for us, it's kind of like all right, it is what it is. We'll move on to the next one. There's no need for us to start pulling our hair out and panicking. And I think it was one of those games that if it was going to be a 0-0 game or else decided by a pure moment of luck, and Arsenal got that moment of luck, so it is what it is. I didn't come away from that game going, that was a massive statement from Arsenal. I don't think Arsenal put the fear of God into us. And then you talk about things like Rodri not being there, De Bruyne not being there. They're the two best players in the world in their positions. Arguably the two best players in the world, full stop. You could make a good debate for if you really wanted to. So to not have them, obviously massive blow. But I want to get onto the significance of Rodri, and it's kind of interlinked with today's Kalvin Phillips story and potential backups and the Kovacic red card. There's that number 6 area of the pitch of Manchester City. It's a hot topic right now. So I do want to get into that after I read this super chat and these member chats. Anthony with the 5 says, how to buy some players in January? I spoke to Big Steve about that last night, and we both kind of came to the common consensus that City don't really do too much business in January. I personally don't see it happening. I think Amos is right that we have, or was it Johnny maybe, that we have enough in the squad. I think we have the right quality and players in the squad. It's just about getting things set up right. Big up for the super chat though. Adam with the 14 months says City are still going to win the league, 10 to 15 points, Champions League as well, and also the Club World Cup. Are you an offspring of Martin or something? Because the confidence, I think, only could come from someone related to Martin, man. But big up for that. And congratulations on 14 months. And Nathan Gray with the 7-1 says, if that's the best they have to offer versus a City side missing a couple of big names, I'm not too worried. That was the takeaway I took Nathan, and I said that last night on the Big Six show, and I got pelters left, right, and center. And basically, unless I had said I was worried after the game, I was going to get pelters. So it is what it is. If anybody else wants to become a channel member, there's a link down below, and you'll get member chats like that and extra content and that kind of thing. And big up for the super chat too, Anthony. If you don't want a super chat or anything like that, just get down below. There's 250 in the building. Hit a like on the stream. It's free to do, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Right, back to the conversation that I think it's a big one around the club right now. We all know, all 5 of us, everybody in the chat, Rodri is the best in the business. What he does right now, no one comes close to him. And the talk about him has only really further increased with his absence, because we've played Kalvin Phillips there in the Carabao Cup. We played Kovacic there in the Arsenal game, and so on and so forth. And it's quite clear nobody can really do what he does. Today, the word is Kalvin Phillips could potentially go to Spurs in January, or else his future at the club is coming to an end. I want to have an open-ended discussion about this, because first and foremost, I don't think it's sustainable or feasible to demand Rodri to play 60 games a season. I think someone has to be able to step in and do at least a serviceable job. Now, we'll start with Kovacic, because he's obviously a hot topic right now. The red card, I suppose we'll go around the table. Should it have been a red card, lads?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but you should have had 2 yellows as a minimum. So
it's
JP's right. The first one was arguably a straight red almost.
Yeah, my general consensus when I seen the first one, I was like, that could be red, that. And then I was like, okay, got away with it. And then the second, his challenge on, was it Rice? That should have been a second yellow. So both times, he shouldn't have been on the pitch.
It was so stupid though. Like, why are you doing that?
He's on a yellow card. What is he doing? Yeah. Like, the guy's got bundles of experience as well, but he's just getting about, sliding about. I know tomorrow.
He's testing VAR. That's all.
Yeah, he's putting it to work in it. He's like, I'm going to show everyone that it's dodgy.
Making sure all these new things are getting sorted out.
And this is arguably the worst year we've ever seen of refereeing. I think this is arguably, I can't remember a worse refereeing decisions. When we've got VAR behind us as well to help us, we're getting worse. It's going backwards. And I was all for VAR, but we're treated so shite what we're doing with it. And ever since Howard Webb's come in, it's been a shambles. It really has. Week after week, mistake after mistake. It's a joke. It really is. I know we benefited from it this week, but next week we'll get punished by it. We'll get punished by it eventually. So,
obviously, it was a big talking point, and there's loads of people talking about the red card, but I think it would have been highlighted further if Arsenal hadn't won the game. I think only for the fact they won the game, they're not really going in on it too much, although people are saying it should have been a red card. But I suppose with the number 6 position, I want to know what you guys think about it. Do you think we have the quality in the squad? Is there any players you think can, with time, grow into it? Obviously, Kovacic is naturally slightly further forward player, but we did think earlier on the season he could potentially be a Rodri backup, if you like. You obviously have Mateus Nunes there who can play in that role too, but he's still very new to the team, and I believe he's going to need some time to bed in. And then, of course, there's Kalvin Phillips. So anybody want to throw any names out or any suggestions, or is it just a simple case of Rodri has to play?
John Stones. Yeah. Maybe Guardiola.
You know what? We got a message last night in the Big Steve show saying Vardy, and it hadn't dawned on me till then. I think Vardy would, with time, maybe a bit more time in this team and adaptation, will be an absolutely fantastic number 6. I think his passing qualities, he can get it. He could grow into a John Stones level player, Vardy. At 21, 22, he's already showing such maturity and technical ability, and he's growing into the team nicely as well. So I'm very excited about him. So
his last 2 games have been really good. His last 2 games. I think it's been solid. Carrying the ball looks impressive. He looks cool.
He looked good against Arsenal. We looked shit. He actually looked good.
Yeah, I think he looked really good against Arsenal.
So with the number 6 in the past couple of weeks, Kalvin Phillips, he's not it for Pep, obviously. For all of you, is it time for him to go?
Yeah. But it was time for him to go in summer. Like Pep's the club clearly made it very obvious to Kalvin Phillips that he was not a part of the plans going forward. Kalvin made the decision to stay and said he was going to fight for his place, which, you know what I mean, I back that. I back that the want to stay at City and prove that he can do it. But he's still not there at that level yet, so he's not going to get the game time and he's in the awkward position of he's not going to get the game time to prove himself. He's only going to get minutes here and there where he's basically, so he's in a vicious circle. So
that's
it'll end up with him just leaving.
He's basically in a no-win situation because we're all saying going, well, he ain't good enough, but he's not been given the time to prove whether he's properly good enough, because 15 minutes in a game does not show whether you're good enough.
And if Spurs are in for him, Spurs are top of the league right now. Top of the league are going for our defensive midfielder. So, do you know what I mean? We're calling him shit and they're about to go and play for top of the league. So.
Liverpool wanted him.
Yeah.
So looking at him.
Big clubs
Newcastle reportedly after him.
Yeah.
What bothers me is why can't he get a game against the like Sheffield United?
Yeah.
He can go to Tottenham and Newcastle and Liverpool and roll in and play.
It's Pep's demand.
Not making sense somewhere.
It's Pep. Pep wants so much from his defensive midfielder. I really think that there's so much demands on that midfield role that I just think it's too much for Kalvin. Rodri found out the hard way in the first year, receiving the ball from Edison with his back to goal. He gave it away quite a bit, Rodri, in his first year. Get caught giving away goals. And he was a bit sloppy in his first year, but now he's like probably the greatest defensive midfielder in the world. Over time, he learned. But time is the key word, and Kalvin Phillips hasn't been given any. I'm not saying that he should be, because, I mean, the small, and I stress small, glimpses that we've seen of him, they've not been good. The performances haven't been, when Rodri was playing, you could see little glimpses, couldn't you? Like, there's a player in there. He's making mistakes, but there's a quality player in there. But with Kalvin, I'm seeing the odd thing that's like, that's a nice diagonal ball, and then he's giving it away really simply. And so I'm not, I can see why Pep wants to get rid of him. And I can also see why other clubs like Spurs, Liverpool, Newcastle want Kalvin Phillips.
I wouldn't mind a little trade. Phillips for Basuma. I think that would be a good deal. But Amos, does it concern you?
Do that, though.
Does it concern you, Amos, that when Rodri's not there, the overall game seems to deteriorate massively? Or is it just a simple fix? Can John Stones come in and emulate and just keep it moving?
First question, it concerns me a lot because we've seen the last 3 games. Like, it would have been lovely to go through the Carabao Cup, but I think everyone wrote that off. The one for me was the Wolves game, because City just did not look anywhere near the sort of team that they had done 3 months prior when they were winning the Champions League. And for me, I feel like we know what Rodri can do defensively, but we also know how good City are defensively. I agree. I thought Guardiola was probably man of the match on Sunday from a City point of view anyway, not in a sort of general sense of the word, but City can keep clean sheets without Rodri. We know that. The issue is the creativity more than anything. And as soon as John Stones came on, those balls were starting to go forward a little bit quicker. And Kovacic is great, however, he's not a number 6. Nunes is great, however, he's not a number 6. The wider issue is, though, who is there on the market who will genuinely come in and do what Kalvin Phillips has done for the last sort of 18 months or so and just sit there and at times fester? Because you cannot drop Rodri, because he is, for me, up there with Jude Bellingham, the best player in the world, or at least he was before the red card. So you're trying to convince somebody that you're going to come here and you're not going to play any football Who's going to say yes to that? I mean, Basuma would have been great, but he's starting, as Johnny says, at the top of the league. He's looking great. He's rejuvenated. Like, I'm racking my brains and I'm thinking there is not a player out there in world football. Even Lavia, when he left, he wanted more game time. So how are you going to then convince an 18-year-old who wanted more game time, went to Southampton, that it's the right thing to stay? So I see the issue. I see the problem that Guardiola's been stuck with, and I see where the it's all right to say go and buy a Rodri backup, but that guy doesn't exist. There's not a guy out there at the moment, from my
not
money,
that's
anyway.
willing to sit on the bench. That's the issue, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean,
there's plenty
like
that could come in, but
you could.
We need a world-class plant pot, don't we? That's willing to sit in the corner for a year.
Yeah.
But when we need him, it's like an absolute worldie who comes onto the pitch and does Rodri. It doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean?
No, he doesn't. That's the thing.
You said it, the backup, and it's an awful word. The trouble is, you're sat there with a player going, "Come and play Sam City, great." Well, when am I going to play? Oh, Wolves, no offense. Everton, no offense. I want Real Madrid, United. No, you're not playing that. Rodri's got that. Why would you then sign? You might as well stay wherever you are. It's not. I was speaking to people yesterday time. Paulinho, Kimmich, like they're not coming to play backup roles. This ain't FIFA.
Paulinho's class.
Bayern Munich were going to splash 80 million on him. He was going to go and start for the best team in Germany, one of the Champions League favourites. He's not going to sort of just rock up at the Etihad and go, "Yeah, I'll play 25 games a season." He's wonderful though, but he's not going to do it, is he?
The thing is, I honestly think Stones can do it. Stones did it last season alongside Gundo.
Yeah. So I think at the club right now, our best CDM past Rodri is Stones. I think, and that's the way that we're going to have to run it. We're forced into a position where you either do that or Rodri's you're going to have to play 60 games a season, which you can't do. But we've been forcing him into as many games as possible for the past few years. And obviously, that's going to run out at some point. But it has to be John Stones. Like I say, Vardio, but at this moment, at the current moment in time, I trust Stones more than anyone else other than Rodri.
We could persuade another player with more time by the fact that last season we did play Stones and Rodri together, didn't we? And if we can promise them that sort of role where it's a double pivot, if that system's going to work, this season doesn't really look like that. But if we were to offer that, that's some sort of a carrot to dangle in front of a player potentially. But you're still not going to be Rodri, are you? At the end of the day, you're not going to get that like guaranteed start which Rodri gets. And then that's how low do you go? You start looking at kids, don't you? World-class kids, unknown quantities that you just don't know anything about. And they're easier to persuade. The ones that can come in and just train under Pep. Someone who's class, that's been scouted, that most guys like us we probably aren't aware of, something from the Argentinian league or something like that, like a defensive midfielder that could come in and is happy to sit on the bench because they're under Pep Guardiola. But it's finding them, isn't it? It's finding them. It's not easy,
I think that double pivot sort of thing you're talking about, it's possibly what we were attempting when we were in the race for Declan Rice, or when we tried our luck with Declan Rice.
Why did we go for Declan Rice?
I think that's why. I think it's just what you said. Yeah. I think that's what we would have had to offer Declan Rice to get him to come to Man City.
I honestly thought they might think they would have played him further up as well. Oh, Rodri.
Right, obviously.
Because one of them could have gone further. Because if you look at Rodri, especially the back end of last season, he's done it actually for the last 3 years. He's broke from deep. And it's gone very under the radar. Everyone was talking about Gundogan do it. But for some reason, everyone forgot about Rodri was then coming on and doing it as well. Because there was crucial games where Rodri was coming in scoring goals from late, not just last season, but even the season before, the Villa game. And Amos made a great point then. Like Lavia, he wanted to play games the same way like Trafford in that. He didn't want to stay and play backup anymore, third choice. He wanted to go and play. This is the problem. You've got kids in our own academy who are not patient enough to go in and wait for their chance. They want it now. I.e. Cole Palmer. Don't want to wait. I want to go now. Fine. Or you go and you do a Brighton, like, Johnny's saying, and we go and scout a South American from somewhere. It's such a... It's a great thing having the world's greatest CDM. It's also a bad thing because you're not going to have, no one's going to come in to play the backup. Phillips, because Phillips was like, I'm at City. He was like excited, starstruck. Plus, I do also think someone mentioned earlier, do think he kind of filled the English quota as well. Because if you actually look
Yeah.
at that English quota, that's really low at the moment. We're getting quite on the line with that English quota. So I don't even think Phillips going out is just a straightforward thing anymore, because then we're going really low on the English quota.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Like we possibly are in that situation, kind of what you're alluding to, victims of Rodri. Like he's that good that nobody wants to come in with it. But then again, there has to be someone out there, a really ambitious, up and coming number 6 who says, "Yeah, I'll challenge Rodri. I'll have a go trying to take his position." It can't just be that every number 6 in world football is just going, "Nah, I ain't trying to take his place. He's too good." Like
I genuinely think it is that. I genuinely think it is that, because it is career suicide. We've seen it with Kalvin Phillips, and I do actually want to give Kalvin Phillips a little bit of sympathy, because last season when he came in, obviously he got a shoulder injury, didn't he? And he had surgery, and we basically didn't see him before the World Cup, and that was his bedding in period. And when he came back, City were in a treble race looking for the treble, and you're not going to drop Rodri because City couldn't afford to lose a game, so he missed out on that sort of developmental period under Guardiola to show, yeah, I actually can do that job. People will question whether or not he has the quality or not, and that's fair enough, but like I don't see a world where we go out to somebody and say, yes, come and do it, because if Lavia did it, then everyone else is going to do it. If you can't convince an 18-year-old teenager that you can be the understudy to the best central defensive midfielder in the world, maybe ever, I don't think you're going to. I genuinely, this may seem reductive, it might seem negative, but I just don't see a world where it happens yet. Hopefully it does, but I think it is going to be a case of just finding a different problem, finding a different system that works.
We're able to persuade goalkeepers, aren't we? Second choice goalkeepers.
Yeah.
We're able to persuade them to come and sit on the bench, knowing full well, whoever, Ortega in our case, that he's not going to get the game time. Whatever we said to him, say to the next centre defensive midfielder, or to Ramsdale, who's now been overtaken by Raya. You know, these goalkeepers have to live a career like that, don't they?
The irony is, though, Ortega probably plays more than the Rodri backup, even in like the cup competition.
Because of the
stuff
cups,
like
yeah,
that.
it's the cups, isn't it? But I mean, it's the life of a goalkeeper, isn't it? There's only one.
Yeah.
So, but,
you probably need a well-experienced number 6 who's he's got maybe two years left in him, but not playing every single game of the season. He's come to the City to get paid pretty well, but also to play 20-25 games and understands his role as a backup, even though it's a harsh word to Rodri. So it's one of those ones that we probably...
Tony Cruz at now? How old is he? Is he expired yet or what? He's only 30.
What's Ilkay Gundogan at? Can we get him back maybe? But yeah, look, the thing with the Rodri one is he's back anyway for Brighton, so we don't have to worry about it, at least for
hopefully he's
game.
got an international break to get through yet. Like, that would be our luck, wouldn't it?
Imagine he got injured.
Imagine the head loss.
I don't think that's helping. I don't think that's helping Phillips sometimes. That Southgate just keeps picking him. I know it's not because he hasn't got the greatest. We're not blessed with loads of really top CDMs in for England, but it's like the Maguire situation. Maguire just keeps getting picked for England. So it's really hard. I think Kalvin needs that kick up the backside, like being dropped from England. To I need to kickstart on. And it's sad because I really wanted him to work out, because I think there is a player there.
Yeah, I wanted him to work out too. He signed my shirt last season, and it's going to be kind of worth nothing if he leaves. It's the shirt from the season we won the treble, and his fucking signatures on it.
You ruined his career, Hugh. It's your fault. You jinxed him by getting on that top.
The huge
should have stayed away from him. But another super chat here from Don't Be That Guy. Big up for the super chat. He says loaning Perone was a mistake. Perone is greater than Phillips. Does anybody agree with that?
He's in the same boat as Phillips. I haven't seen enough of him. How can we judge him? We haven't seen enough of him.
Also very different positions as well.
Yeah, and we've seen more of Phillips than we have of Perone, so it would be easy.
Perone having the same problem with Las Palmas, or has that changed now? Wasn't he actually not starting for them either? I don't think he was starting for Las Palmas every week.
I know Freddie made a report.
He was coming in as a sub, so I don't know. Maybe I've got that wrong. It was just something I read somewhere. Maybe I've read it wrong.
Freddie made a report. I'll probably make a video on it, but for anybody who wants to go and read it, it's a report on the month of September for all of our loan players. So you can find out exactly what Prono's been up to from Freddie. I'm not sure what this is. Is this a super chat, Jordan?
Yeah, it looks weird though, doesn't it? Oh no, it's a super sticker. What's that thing inside there?
I don't know, but
like a number
engineering,
one on it. I
management,
don't know
marketing
it.
consultant sent us 20, whatever that is. So
Big up, big up.
big up engineering, management, marketing consultant. For anybody who wants marketing consultant, hit him up. But,
Build a new City Extra studio with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Straight into that.
Right, there's 360 people in the building. I don't know how many likes we're on, but let's see, can we get it up to about 200, 250 likes? So smash the like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe if you're new around here, and show support to all these guys' channels and podcasts.
Can I just double check? He's played 6 games, 6 appearances. He's played 150 minutes.
Yikes.
Which tells you where. So Peroni's exactly in the same boat as Kalvin Phillips.
So he's played in or around the exact same amount of football this season.
So let's
Right. Okay. Well, Peroni, we'll just have to sit in that one and see what happens with the remainder of the season. But yeah, like I said, hit the like button, get up to 200, 250 if you can. Subscribe if you're new around here. I want to move it slightly further up the pitch now. We'll park the number 6 conversation and talk about creativity, because that's the massive talking point for City fans off the back of that game, that we didn't sustain any real threat on Arsenal's goal. We don't look creative enough going forward. Like I said about Rodri, is it a simple case of the team just won't function as well without Rodri overall, that when you take De Bruyne out, are we just not going to be an attacking threat? Because for me, I'm slightly disappointed with like Phil Foden and Alvarez. I don't think they impose themselves enough creatively against Arsenal. I know it's in them. I know they can, but we didn't do it against Arsenal. What's anybody think about the creative situation?
It's not great, but then like I was saying before, that we've had games where we've created loads of chances, and it's just because Haaland's not put them away. So you know what I mean, sometimes he has his off days and that, and sometimes it's so hit and miss. Like, it's very inconsistent. Like, we'll some games you'll watch it, we'll create loads and we're not taking our chances. Some games you'll watch it, we'll create loads and we do take our chances, we score quite a few goals. And then you've got games like Arsenal, we watch it, we create absolutely nothing and have nothing to do. And all these games that I'm talking about have all been while Kevin hasn't been here. So you can't just pin it down just to Kevin, because Kevin De Bruyne isn't in the side. We're not creating things, because we have been doing. It's just, it's inconsistent right now in the team, and I don't know what the fix is.
I'm not. I'm a bit confused with the lack of creativity shouts, because Arsenal for me is a one-off. City, we spoke about how narrow they were, and they genuinely were. You know, you look at heat maps and stuff; they're like that on a pitch, and they were not using the width effectively. And I said it before: neither Doku or Grealish played. It really should have been one or the other, because both of them know how to stretch a pitch. And funnily enough, City had 4 shots, Arsenal had 12. City had a higher XG, but obviously it was just one of them games. Against Wolves the week before, we had 23 shots. Against who was it? Nottingham Forest. I think it was mentioned before. Again, we're talking about shots where we're having lows. The Red Star Belgrade game, there was a bundle of chances. I just think it's been a case of, before the Rodri red card, Haaland was on a bit of a weird streak where he was getting chances and he wasn't able to take them. You know, fair enough. He had a long season last year. And then after the Rodri red card, things just went a little bit tits up in departments across the pitch. So again, I'm calmer. I'm calmer about it. I think as soon as Rodri slots back in, we'll go to Brighton. We'll create 15 shots. We might score 3 goals. We'll probably win, and everything will be sound. And we'll be sitting there going, "Oh, wasn't that funny 2 weeks ago when we were all losing our heads over the results?"
That's spot on. I don't think it's a creativity issue. I think it's a taking your chances issue.
Yeah.
And that's 2 separate combos. Because Sheffield United, Haaland could have had 2 hat-tricks.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Wolves, we had chances. Leipzig, chances. I'm one of these, I would get more worried. I am always more worried when we're not creating them. Because I know at some point it's going to go in. Someone's going to get on the end of a good idea. But we are creating chances. We're like the 4th or 5th top scoring team in the league. Haaland's top goal scorer. And I think we're 5th, 6th in the top teams, the teams who scored the most goals in the league, and I think there's about 3 goals in it. So I don't get the creativity thing. Sunday, 100%, we had no creativity.
So was that a fault of Pep Guardiola then for you with selection or the way he set it up the shape?
Yeah, because I think Pep did, like I said, I think Pep went and did something he's never done in his City career, went to draw. Don't think he went to win. But I don't think Arteta fully went to win. Arsenal just got the lucky, got the goal, whereas we didn't. I think so. No, I don't have an issue with creativity. I really don't, because there was an argument 2 years ago, as I remember, that we were a better team without Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers that little debate we were all having, I think De Bruyne was out for about 8-9 games, and we were just whipping the wings off like that.
Is this when Gundogan scored like 16 goals or something?
Yeah, it was something.
He got back to back. He got back to back Premier League Player of the Month, didn't he? Scored loads of goals.
No creativity. I think Sunday, yes, but not the other games.
What do you think, Johnny?
I think we need to pay a little bit of respect to the opposition as well, because I think the way they've set up has sort of stopped us more than anything. As much as we need to look at ourselves after every game, we need to look at how they played and what were their intentions. I think Arsenal is a bit of a freak result. I think we paid them way too much respect. In the first half, they were there for the taking. I think their nerves were there for all to see. They were making mistakes in that first 10, 15 minutes, giving it away, clearing it off the line from a Foden header, Ake putting it over the bar. The game could have been done in 10 minutes. Just these little tiny details. But then you look at the Wolves game. I know what Amos was saying about the number of shots that we had, but 15 of those, I think it was around 14, 15 of those were from outside of the box. Our goal from Alvarez's free kick was outside the box, obviously. So we were being restricted in that game. And if you're going to send so many defenders to the point of treble marking him, I've never known a player in my life to be treble marked, because he's that planted in their minds as a fear factor for the opposition, that Haaland's being killed in these games by 2, sometimes 3 players. So when the ball lands to Erling Haaland, the pressure's through the roof now, because he's not thinking, I could get 5 chances in this game, 6 chances. I'll probably get a goal, maybe 2, maybe a hat-trick if it's my day. Now he's like, this is my only chance, and I've got to take it. So that pressure is a standard of pressure that no striker in the world is being asked to maintain. That's an incredible amount of pressure. And then you have to drop back to Alvarez and hope that he, treats Erling Haaland as a sacrificial player, someone as a decoy, effectively, for the opposition, to free up Alvarez and do something special in the pocket behind the space that's been given, because the defenders aren't bothering marking Alvarez, they're marking Haaland. And Alvarez has been stepping up to the plate. Against Arsenal, Alvarez was well off his game. And I mean, I've been a player of the season so far, Alvarez, but against Arsenal, he just wasn't at the races. He just wasn't there. So I think that's arguably, we need to look at the opposition more. And if anyone's going to fix it, it's Pep. He's going to see what they're doing, why they're treble marking Haaland, and find a way, whether it's through them with Doku, because he can just brute force his way through, or around them with the Grealishes and Bernardo Silvas down to the byline, that type of play. Pep will find a way. He'll find a way.
I think that's why everybody's kind of so calm about it. I mean, it seems most of the noise about creativity, even though for me it was a staggering thing on the weekend, but I'm still calm on the overall thing like the rest of you lads. I think we're calm about it because we know Pep will fix it. Like you said yourself, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Pep Guardiola. But I see Haaland getting a lot of flack from the general media, some City fans too. He's getting a lot of stick. I think at the point I made on this on a number of shows now is that people have become too accustomed to strikers like Firmino, Harry Kane, Aguero, who are fantastic all-round footballers. They will drop deep. They will spray passes around to the wings and link up, and they'll do their fair bit of finishing too, as all those greats have. But Erling Haaland, even though he is slowly improving all the time at his overall game, he's an elite finisher. He's a specialist when it comes to finishing. And if he's not getting the service, or he doesn't feel he's not going to get regular opportunity to score, it's going to be to the detriment of his overall game. I'm not sure what you guys think about the Haaland conversation right now. I think it's totally unjust. I think it's very reactionary. Jordan.
Yeah, I think it's a load of shit, to be honest. Like Martin said before, he's 2 goals clear at the top of the goal scorers 8 games in. Guy scored 8 goals in 8 games. What are
And
people
2
crying
assists.
for? 2
2
assists.
assists as well.
What do you mean? People now are saying, "Oh, he's fell off. He's shit." Well, if he's shit, then what's everyone else? Because he's still top of the goal scorers. Do you know what I mean? Like, is everyone else just absolutely terrible at football? And it's only Haaland who's good. Or do you know what I mean? Like, because it doesn't make sense how people can be having this conversation. Yes, he's not getting the service at the moment, and he's not quite breaking records for the amount of goals scored in a certain amount of games, kind of thing. But he'll still be up there. I reckon he still gets that golden boot. I reckon we still win the league with him scoring an insane amount of goals. I just think it's taken us a bit to get him going again and get the creativity there. And also, I think he does need to step up a little bit in the sense of finishing. Like, he's been a bit shit finishing recently. He had loads of chances, but it doesn't mean that he isn't actually taking his, like, some of them, because he's still at the top of the Premier League goal scorers. It's because he gets so many chances in some games where he misses them that people look at it and go, "Oh, that's a bit worrying. That's a bit worrying." And now it's got to the point where people are sweating on it. And because he's not scored against Arsenal, because he didn't score in the Champions League final, people are now thinking, "Oh no, he's fell off. He's fell off." I see Rory Jennings said, "Oh, was I actually right about Haaland?" Stuff like that. It's like,
Fuck's sake.
people need to chill.
Numpty.
People need to chill out, man. He's still sick.
I think a huge amount of it is to do with the fact that, like, he still scored a very healthy amount of goals for the stage of the season we're at.
Healthy.
We've all said.
Yeah.
I think why people are possibly taken aback a bit by Haaland is because he's possibly just missed some chances that when he was on his hot streak last year, he would have scored. And people are kind of going, why hasn't he put them in the back of the net? Like we're saying, yeah, he's 2 goals clear as the top scorer, but he probably could have 15 by now if he was like totally on form. So I still think the reaction to the Haaland form or slump he's in right now is totally unfair, I suppose. Martin, what are your thoughts on this one?
Same as Jordan, load shit. I don't get it. I said it earlier. It is reactionary panic. This same thing with this, like spend 100 million in January, 200 million in January. We're 2 points off the top with 8 games gone. We won our first 6. I'm not including the Newcastle. I said it last time I was on. We've lost 2. Fine. Get it, we've lost 2. But Brighton will get the pounding right back the other way when we jog onto the Etihad in 2 weeks. I'm sure they will. I don't get it. I don't get what Haaland has done. But it's not just Haaland. I'm seeing it with every player this season. I don't know. It's like we won the treble and that's it. We've got to win every single game 5-0. I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. It's madness. It's like we're 0-0 at half time and people are having meltdowns.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are we becoming as a fan base like
United?
The prime Barcelona era prime Barcelona era.
No,
They
I don't know, man. I think it's United.
They'd go to the new camp, sit there with their legs
crossed, Amos.
With a fucking pina colada going, we know we're going to win 8-0 today. Is that what we are now?
What I said. It's exactly what we said we never wanted at Main Road.
That's the word's entitled. The word is entitled. It's an entitled fan base that's growing more and more entitled as the days go by and the games go and the trophies go by, that you come to a point of like, right, you sit back and entertain me with this. You go to the ground, and that's what it's exactly like. And now it's like, and boo, like the old Roman days, like not good enough.
He did it last season.
Off with his head.
we're all there at the side standing the Etihad.
Just like this.
You were probably at the Tottenham game last year when we were 2-0 down at half time.
Yeah,
and the players got booed off, and Pep just stood there like in amazement, going, "What are you doing? It's the first time they've done this, and you're booing them off out the bill." What? No, it was like, stop. I don't know.
Can I present you with a different side of things, Hugh? Because you've probably seen me scrambling away on a notepad like a little Duracell bunny, and I've no doubt got the numbers wrong here, but I've just added up every goal City have scored this season, and I think it comes to, including the Community Shield and Super Cup, 25. Now, Haaland obviously has 8 of those, all of them in the Premier League. Alvarez has 6. There are 2 top highest scorers. So that's 14 goals. Those 2 have over half of our goals in the season so far. Add Cole Palmer's 2 in there. We're talking 16 goals of City's 25 have come from 3 players. One of them isn't even at the club anymore. Doku goes in there. We're talking, 18 goals come from 4 players. One of them's a new signing. One of them's not at the club anymore. So I actually think the issue isn't Erling Haaland. It's more the rest of the squad need to contribute, because Mahrez is gone. I think last season he finished with 15 in all competitions. Gundogan's gone. I think he got 8 in the Premier League, obviously a couple in the FA Cup as well. So again, I'm not saying there needs to be panic, because we are in a bit of a transition, but to point the finger at Erling Haaland when he's on 8 goals from 8 games or whatever it is, it's mental, isn't it? It's absolute madness, because he's still doing his job. He's just not scored for a couple of games, which is fine. I mean, I think everyone's been a bit tainted by last season scoring 52 goals, whatever it was. But just a bit of perspective, I think, because I do feel like we need to get more goals from around the pitch. It can't just be on Alvarez and Erling Haaland and Cole Palmer, who obviously isn't even here anymore.
I totally
don't
agree.
remember last season being this down about a result. This feels like our fan base is really hitting us, like hating ourselves, and we feel like this is the worst defeat ever from some of the fan base I'm at least seeing. Whereas last season we were losing, Spurs away, we lost at Old Trafford. We lost, stupid offside goal with Rashford involved in that. That was stupid, but we drew 0-0 away to Copenhagen. We got knocked out by Southampton 2-0, and we got battered by Southampton in that game. And that was a pretty much full strength team. There were shit performances last season, really poor. And we won the treble. So I don't understand why now losing 1-0 to a scrappy goal from Arsenal means it's time to shit the bed. I don't understand the comparison between last season and this season. It's like we should have realised that this is, the story has an ending that's quite familiar, and hopefully this season it ends the same way as it did last season and the season before and the season before that. So, yeah, I don't know. I do think we need to reality check a little bit.
The way our seasons goes over the last 5 years are similar.
Yeah.
Up until it's like a mate of mine said to me yesterday, you know why we have a really low pre-season? Why we only have like 2 games where everyone else has about 5 or 6? Because we use the first 4 months of the season as pre-season. And then I remember a comment from Pep. He said the season we don't get to peak fitness till about October, November. Then we go. So it's like, because if you look, he uses the first 4 months to rotate players around. That's when he does. And then for some reason, by about January, February, he goes. And I think it's that when the Champions League tends to come back in is when we do it. Why he talks so much about qualification for the Champions League is out the group stage is so important. Because I think we get to the February mark, and that's when Pep goes, right, no more messing, eyes focused, we're going to 5th gear and we're moving. And it has been the same way. And I went back and looked at little patterns and thought, yeah, it's the exact same. He's spot on what he's saying. So that's why I don't get the panic. You watch what we're doing. It's exactly the same formula it has been. We got beat by Brentford in December at the Etihad last season. There wasn't this
double over us, didn't
meltdown. There wasn't this meltdown.
Yeah.
I don't think a meltdown is warranted. I don't know why people don't know that we're a second half of the season team, like we have been for years. We don't come into our own until the second half of the season, so I don't think there's any cause for concern. We've shown last year. Do you know what I mean? Arsenal top of the Premier League. We're down by 8 points, whatever it is, second half of the season, and then, do you know what I mean? And we still ended up winning the league and winning a treble. So
top buses.
I mean, yeah,
they've all won
the league already.
Sunday.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like people write us off now and they go, "Oh yeah, the shit this season."
That's good.
The season's not even started for us.
It's good news that they think like this already. It's like they've not learned their lessons either. Some of our fan base haven't learned their lessons, but they clearly haven't as well. I saw the Arsenal fans outside the stadium given it large. Clearly, they haven't learned the lessons from last season. The emotion riding as high as it was in that game. I think,
Isn't there someone that needs to do his yearly video about City in crisis?
He's done it. He's done it today.
He's done it. There you go.
Today.
He's not learned.
Yeah. It's October.
Even learned
today. I seen it pop up today, and I was like, "Fucking hell, he's done that again."
They're desperate, aren't they?
Every year, it's almost like he curses us into winning the league.
City in crisis, and then he switches off for what so long after 20 minutes when we're winning it.
Yeah, he cries about it. Oh, I'm not
"Ah,
watching that. Not wasting my day watching that.
He only has himself to blame that City are so successful because he keeps fucking jinxing it. But
Yeah.
I think I think what all you guys are saying is right. And what Martin said about us only getting into our top gear at the important stage of the season, because I think we know and we've seen it enough over the years that City have a gear that they can get into that nobody else has. It's an extraordinary gear that I think we've only seen this Pep Guardiola Manchester City team do before in Premier League history. So you just have to remain calm after days like the other day. And I said this in the Big Steve show last night. I think it's okay after you lose for a couple of hours to be emotional about it. Football is an emotional game. Like I said on the show yesterday, when I was on the bus back to the airport from the game, I was sitting there feeling shit about myself. Then I got back to the airport and I was like, you know what? Like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So it's okay to get a bit frustrated, but you have to look at the bigger picture. And we're not even at a halfway mark of the season yet. Never mind the business end. So the overall consensus, I think, is to just remain calm, people. There's still about 450 in the building. The numbers are absolutely fantastic tonight. Really appreciate all of you coming in. I have a few super chats to get through here. But if you do me a massive favor and hit a like on the stream, it helps more people find the channel on our road to the big 100K. Still a bit of a journey to get there, but you guys can make it happen. Appreciate you all for your support. So like and subscribe. Emmanuel here with the 2 says, is it time to open the war chest in January? We kind of touched on that a little bit. Does any of you guys think it's worth our while doing some business in January?
I think
Depends what
City
happens
might
with
go for
injuries.
Paqueta.
Yeah, he's the one, isn't he? He's the one.
I think.
He's
Did you see
wonderful.
when we played West Ham as well? Went over hug Pep. I think. I Paqueta wants that move still. And obviously we was gonna full send the Paqueta deal. It was only the betting allegations that stopped it. Now it all depends on how long that takes. I think City could still go for Paqueta in January. I think it'd be a bit cheaper than what we was looking at in the summer. But it all depends whether that thing is done. His case. But other than that, I genuinely can't see us going for anyone else.
Needs to clear his betting history if he wants that move to happen. Anyway, Miro with the 2 as well. Stones needs to start ASAP. Doku and Grealish too. The Doku and Grealish one not starting on the weekend, like I said, was a bit bizarre to me. I was with Amos when we got the team news, and we were both a bit taken aback by it. Stones is back. I think Stones will start against Brighton in 2 weeks' time. So
yeah, he's got to.
You'll get your wish.
The thing about Grealish, right, that people always overlook is, and I know everyone that gives him a bit of stick in that, and he's not really started this season very well, but last season, definitely, when he was on the pitch, he'd always bring over 2 men, 3 men. I think Doc will end up doing the same thing because everyone will get worried about him, and that frees up space for Haaland there. So I think that's something that you need. You need your players like your Doku and your Grealish on the pitch to basically make more space for Haaland, who then in turn will make more space for an Alvarez behind him. I think it's like a knock-on effect. So I think we need, like any games, I'm like, yeah, get Doku and Grealish. One of them 2 has to be on the pitch.
I agree. Big up for the super chat, Miro. Professional Idiot with the 5 says, I think sometimes in certain games we simply look predictable because our players aren't sure what they are supposed to do in a new system. Anybody think we're predictable?
Depends.
I can never predict his team. Perhaps I've never once predicted a Pep Guardiola starting 11 in my life. Do you know what I mean? I always miss a player. So, I mean, I don't think we are predictable, but he might have a point that if they're not understanding the system, that's something we're not privy to, is it? I mean, I hope they are understanding the system, but I do think that we are incredibly unpredictable at times, to the point where our own fans don't know what we're going to do.
Well, me and Jordy Brody do predicted 11 every week, and I don't think since I've been on the channel anyway we've ever got one entirely right. So that just shows. But you also have to remember
you're exposing our football knowledge out here.
The ball knowledge.
The thing is, we should start doing the previews like 20 minutes before kickoff, because I got the team sheet early, 20 minutes early the other day. We could have acted like we got it all right. But the thing with the not getting the system is you do have to bear in mind we have Vardiol, Nunez, Kovacic, and Doku. These are 4 new players. They're going to take a small bit of time to get used to it anyway. So there's a combination of things there worth thinking about. Miro again with a 5. Rory Jennings is a mug. The guy's obsessed with Haaland. It's like Haaland slept with his girlfriend. With no creativity, how the hell will he score? Do you know what it is, Miro? If I'm being totally honest, I think Rory Jennings has found a cash cow with making Haaland videos, because whenever he makes a Haaland video, he gets a lot of views. And he knows whenever Haaland scores a hat trick or drops a few goals, everyone goes back to his Haaland video to tell him how wrong he was.
Yeah.
I with all due respect, actually, I don't even care about respect. I don't rate Rory Jennings' opinion. So
It's
It'll
scared
be,
to have that
it'll be a
national
diss rap
media.
next. That's why it'll be dissing him in rap.
The two clowns you talked about tonight have their own shows on a national radio. That's,
Yeah, they do.
That's mad.
get
Crazy,
City
innit?
Extra on the radio, man. Get the panel on the radio. Get us
It's mad.
five. We talk
It's
sense.
mad how it must be, say, the most outrageous things you can come up with. And away you go. I don't know.
I might start making outrageous claims like Saliba's crap or something like that. So whenever he drops a good game, people will come and send from me, but I don't have to shame for that. Big up for the super chat again, Miro. Your support's been great tonight. Mr. Roll Up with the 2. Foden should focus on right wing and reach Salah levels. Yeah, I mean, really quickly, because we've just hit the hour now. How does anybody, I suppose, feel about the Phil Foden thing? Myself and Steve said yesterday, we think it's time for him to just nail down a position. But is that something he can even do under Pep Guardiola? Because Pep likes to move things around.
Can't do that.
Well, look at this season. We've got right wing Kyle Walker, which then pushes in Phil Foden inside a little bit, so he can't even hold down that right wing spot because of how forward Kyle Walker gets. So you don't really have a true right wing Phil Foden, and then you have the rotation between him and Bernardo switching position in that there. Yeah, no doubt we'll see Foden play left wing at some point in this season. So, and we need him creatively in the midfield. So it's all like he just gets thrown about anywhere at the moment, and just where he's needed, and so he's not going to hold down one spot.
He does a good job at not holding down one spot, though. I think he's one of them players I think that you can utilise where, depending on the opponent, they can play him wherever they want. His position against Arsenal probably wasn't his best, but I've quite liked him in that sort of in between the sort of central attacking midfielders and the right winger this season.
I've liked it as well.
Really good. Yeah, he's had some good performances, hasn't he?
Well, he's on 3 assists and a goal, which for someone who is
get him
new,
out, sell him.
Well, I mean, for someone who's relatively new to that area of the pitch at this level anyway, it's not a bad start to the season. I mean, on the Big Six last night, they were all firing at Phil Foden, and I agreed with some of their points. I know. I mean, I agree with some of their points, but they were saying at this point we have to admit that Bukayo Saka is just clear of Phil Foden, and I said, well, every week Bukayo Saka. He's on that right wing for Arsenal. There's no two ways about it. We know he's there. But Phil Foden, he could score a hat-trick this week, and then because we're playing against a certain style of team next week, Phil Foden might not even play. So it's hard for Phil Foden to build his profile or make the big name for himself the way, say, a Saka has. I think in terms of ability, maybe I'm biased, but I slightly put Foden over Saka in terms of ceiling and how far they can go in the game. But we just have to see what Pep does with Foden's career.
Is Saka winning trebles, Hugh? There's a question. Is Saka winning trebles?
Saka made his Champions League debut 3 weeks ago. Phil Foden played in 2 Champions League finals. You know what I'm saying? I think
Levels.
I think he's a top footballer, and he's going to have a fantastic career. No doubt, he's a super player. But to just suggest that Phil Foden is all of a sudden miles behind Bukayo Saka, in fact, I hate the debate, so I'm not even going to give it any more airtime. But listen, that's all the super chats. Big up to every single one of you for sending in a super chat. And like I always say, if you don't want a super chat, perfectly cool. Just hit the like button, free to do, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Listen, we've just passed the hour mark. It's been an absolutely fantastic show. I really enjoyed this. It's one of my favorites. The panel were absolutely excellent. So I want you guys in the chat to show support to these guys. So I'm going to let them all tell us what they've got coming up on their own channels or what you guys can look forward to from them. So, Johnny, what's happening on Typical City over the next few weeks?
Just trying a bit of general discussion topics about the team and things that we've discussed tonight, really. Going into a little bit more detail. I'm international break in it, so everyone's bored out of their minds, waiting for Premier League to come back. But I want to get into. I did a Haaland video today in as much detail as possible and talk about. My only concern with Haaland is what he's going to do in the next 2 games, Brighton and Man United. And I mean, if he doesn't score in those games, it's a new topic of discussion, isn't it? Because we're going, and then there's 5 games without a goal. But I have every feeling that he will. I have a funny feeling that he'll score a bagful against Brighton and hopefully a couple against United. And that's my content anyway. I was waffling on then for you, but yeah, that's what I'll be doing. Thanks very much for having me on as well, Hugh and JP. Really appreciate it, guys.
Well, of course, mate. Absolute pleasure. Chat. Make sure to go to Typical City. Go and check out that Haaland video. As I always say, we'd like to show support to our great guests. Martin, what's coming up on the Mancunian way these days?
We've got a little bit of a kind of review at the start of the season, Thursday night, and we're going to have a little bit of just calming down session. Get everyone back on level playing fields.
Ryan's offering free therapy over the Mancunian way.
Meditation.
Just calm it all down with all this, with shit, get us out.
Well,
we're not being
he's good with
relegated.
Martin. Like, I'm coming away from this show confident we're going to win the league by 10 points just because of Martin alone. But listen, chat, make sure to go to the Mancunian way. As always, Martin is a great guest on this channel, and make sure to show support to him and all his content over there. Amos, the City Report podcast and all the work you're doing over there, let them know where they can find you and what's coming up.
Yeah, of course, we do daily Manchester City episodes wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple, Spotify, Google, all those lovely places. We talk news, we talk transfer business, we talk match reviews, and generally a lot of nonsense, which I'm sure a lot of the audience will love, because it's been one of them shows, guys. It's been fun. Really enjoyed it.
Well, we've nearly 500 in the building at one stage tonight, and all we do is chat nonsense. So there must be a market there for it. So make sure to go and check out the City Report podcast. Predominantly on Spotify, Amos, isn't it? But you're also on YouTube.
Spotify, Apple, Google, all of them places. If you listen to podcasts, wherever you get it, it will be distributed there. Do some YouTube videos as well. City Report Pod on all social media platforms, Twitter, formerly X, whatever, TikTok, Instagram, etc., etc.
I can vouch, Chad. It is a great podcast. I do a lot of flying over and back to the game, so I always download an episode or two of Amos's podcast to keep myself entertained. Jordy Porty, let the people know. I'm only joking. Have you got a FIFA stream tonight? Yeah.
Pardon?
Have you got a FIFA stream tonight?
Yeah, I'm not sure what time. Probably 9:30 tomorrow. All
right, we'll keep an eye out in the chat or on the channel, people, to find out when Jordy Porty's going live again with the FIFA. Another quick super chat here from Aju. He says, no half space run when we keep width on the right side. Yeah, we kind of spoke about that with Kyle Walker bombing up the right as well. It's one of those ones. Look, we'll have to see how Pep figures these things out. But listen, we can all relax for at least 2 weeks now and take a step back from football, spend time with the families, maybe go out for a walk or two, get some fresh air, whatever you do for entertainment. And we'll be back. This the same panel. Hopefully these four guys will be back next week. Maybe someone else will join us too, because I think these guys have been a great addition to the show on a weekly basis. So next week we will look forward to the rest of October, I suppose. There's some Champions League games. There's a game against Brighton. And, of course, the big Manchester derby at the end of the month. So we will reconvene next week, same time, same place, hopefully, and discuss all that. So, listen, we're going to wrap it up there. Big up to absolutely everybody who came in and joined us. If you're watching on playback or you're still here with us and you haven't done so already, smash a like on this stream. Subscribe if you're new around here. Help us get to 83K is the next goal. And as I've gone through, do show support to each and every one of the fantastic creators on the show, because we appreciate their contributions to the show. Have a good rest of your night, people, and we'll see you next week with the same guys to look forward to the rest of the month. See you in a bit.